First question, Rod McKenzie.
James, you only had, I think, 6 spring practices, enough just to get you started. What did you take away from those practices, and what are you hoping to improve on from what how you performed in the spring practices?
Just trying to develop on the offense side of the ball, just getting my reads down and knowing if a blitz come, I know what to check, what check to call, and just learning how to read defenses is what I want to develop on.
Kelly Quinlan.
Hey, James, I was just curious kind of what your summer was like in terms of throwing with guys and working out on your own and that sort of thing, and what were you guys able to do and not do compared to like a normal summer, and kind of keeping the rust from building up?
It was challenging with Corona, so we would have to social distance and not be able to be with more than 5 or so guys, and it was challenging just having to work on your own and not being together as a team, being able to just work the same concepts with your guys. You have to work with guys from your hometown, and it was difficult, but I just want to say that we made it through and we're here.
Another question from Rod McKenzie.
James, we've heard a lot from the different coaches about how practices have changed from what you're normally used to. How have you adapted to the pace and the change in practice?
It's been quite easy because we always flying around and just attacking everything, and now we have to, with Corona here, you have to social distance and just be separate from each other and slow it down a little bit. You don't have as many guys in one group as we would if Corona wasn't here. So it's just been challenging trying to get the plays ran and stuff like that. But
next up is Allison Mastrangelo from WSB.
Yeah, I'm more so curious. I mean, with so many players and us even at work, we've gone from Zoom interviews, from in-person interviews to Zoom interviews, and same for you with workouts. What has been the biggest, I guess, have you seen any benefits from the Zoom workouts? Like one of the coaches yesterday said, a lot of guys are kinesthetic and Zoom doesn't really replace it. Just overall, what was your experience like? And what does it mean to be back on the field?
I believe that the Zoom call were cool and everything, but being in the meeting room with the guys and just being able to draw stuff up on the board and being able to being there to physically see it and stuff was my biggest issue, because I learned better in a group, with the coaches and my teammates beside me, and we all just in there learning the plays together. It was that was a little difficult for me on the Zoom call. It was just different.
Next up, Paul Newberry from the Associated Press.
James, hey, couple questions. One, any concerns on your part about coming back and about playing, with the coronavirus hanging over and some players opting not to play this year? And then I have a follow-up for that after that.
Honestly, I believe that those guys that opt out, they're their own man, and they see their future and their family. They have the decisions to make. But with me, I done got tested 3 or 4 times, and it all came back negative. So the what coaches got built up for us and the protocol he's got has just been great. So I feel that we're safe to play, and I'm ready for the season.
One more thing, too, just on a totally different subject. I know at Georgia Tech kind of led the way to take election day off. And I'm just wondering what that, what you've kind of learned. I guess the teams have been talking about getting more engaged civically and, registering to vote. Wondering, what your plans are for November, if and what you maybe have learned through this process. And if you've been registered to vote, is this going to be something new for you?
I've been registered to vote. I registered last fall, and then it's been going pretty good for me with all the pandemic. It's been difficult, but I am voting, and I won't. That's pretty much all I can say.
Okay, are there any more questions for James Graham? We have time for 1 or 2 more. Kelly Quinlan, go ahead.
Hey, James, can you just kind of talk about what the quarterback room's like now? You're obviously the old guy again, and you have some young arms, kind of what everyone looks like and how these first few practices have been.
Jeff and Tucker has been exciting. They're bringing new things to the table, and it's been a good joy to watch those guys practice and just them be able to help them if they mess up or if they need help with anything, just being able to being there for them, just to help them and correct their errors and things like that. But I'm excited for the season. I think if any one of us have to play, it'll be good because all of us are we're ready and we're locked in.
Okay, last question for James Graham will be Ken Segura from the AJC.
James, I jumped in late. I apologize if it's been asked, but I appreciate your time. Looking back at last season and your tape, kind of where did you feel like you needed to get better, and how have you tried to address that so far?
Transition in the pocket, my feet, and just being on time with my throws and being able to read defenses, rotations, and just the fronts and all, just being able to check the run game, pass game, or even quarterback game. It's just developing, trying to learn from all my mistakes. I believe that my biggest downfall is my footwork, and I've been working on that all summer, and you guys will see.
Okay, we'll have up next quarterback Jordan Yates, and we'll open up for questions for Jordan. First question that's in is from Ken Segura from the AJC.
Hey, Jordan, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good, thanks. Yeah, just if you can update us on kind of where you feel like your progress is and just the competition that you have at your position.
I feel like the whole group has gotten a lot better since spring. I think all this Corona actually kind of helped us. We had a lot of time to meet with Coach P on like Zoom calls and things like that, and really just learn a lot more about football. So I think the whole group has stepped up a bunch, and it's a fun competition for sure.
Rod McKenzie, 247 Sports.
Hey, Jordan, you guys have four pretty good quarterbacks in the quarterback room right now. How has that helped you to elevate your game?
We all push each other every day. Like you said, really six talented guys in that group, and like I said, we all just push each other in every drill, and we just have fun and compete.
Kelly Quinlan, Rivals.
Jordan, I was just curious kind of how the summer went for you in terms of throwing and getting work in and that sort of thing, and keeping the momentum going. How did you approach that, and kind of the guys you worked out with and that sort of thing?
So at first, when everything kind of first started with Corona and it was kind of real bad, I was just throwing to my dad. We would just go to the park, go on a baseball field, and get some work in. So I was really just doing that for probably a month before I started meeting up with my receivers. I got a couple kind of close to me. I was throwing with Jalen Camp a lot. I saw Malachi a couple times, and of course Dylan Leonard. But yeah, just trying to be as safe as possible. No big groups or anything like that, but I was able to get some good work in.
Allison Mastrangelo from WSB.
Hey, we always know, every year we talk about quarterback battles, position battles, and things like that. It's new for everyone. I guess, what is it like, or what's so different about it now in a pandemic? I mean, that's something so unique and different. What's been the biggest unique thing, I guess, about it? Still trying to keep your competitive edge and show that, like, you should be the guy.
Honestly, when it comes to the competition, especially right now, we're all kind of in the same situation. So it's really, honestly, right now it's just football for us. It may have been a little unique as far as like when we were back home. Just, I mean, you really can't really get a leg up on anybody. All we're doing is meeting and trying to get better on our own. So, but right now it's back to normal competition. So it's good. It's fun.
We don't have anything else in queue for Jordan. Are there any last questions? Okay, last two for Jordan. We'll start with Ken Segura, and then one last one from Kelly Quinlan after that. So Ken, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm curious, just as you're out there practicing and watching film, like what kind of sense that you have of this competition of getting graded and watching throws and making sure every throw is as good as it can be for you.
Can you repeat that? Sorry, I missed part of
Sure.
that.
Kind of what sense do you, I mean, to what degree, I guess, do you feel that competition, whether, you know, as you're trying to do your best and you're getting grades and Coach Patenaude's talking to you about your reads and so forth?
I mean, we're all pretty clear on like what the expectations are, just as a group, and we go over. I mean, watch our film from our practice every single day, really two times a day, and then of course we all watch on our own. But I mean, we all know the expectation and know what it takes, and we're all just trying to be our best.
Okay, last question for Jordan from Kelly Quinlan.
Jordan, I was just curious if, with everything going on and kind of the uncertainty of things, does it change the feel of practicing? Does it make you appreciate, I guess, the moments you have and the football that you have ahead that you guys are able to get in? Does it change maybe kind of your mentality about it?
It definitely feels good to be back because there was a point in time where I'm sure none of us were that certain about anything. We didn't know if we'd be able to get back to the situation. But, I mean, luckily we've all stayed safe and have a good protocol. So we're back out here just in Leck's regular fall camp. So it's good to have it back for sure.
Okay. Up next, we have offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach Dave Patenaude. We'll go ahead and open it up for questions for Coach Patenaude. First question from Kelly Quinlan from Rivals.com.
Hey, Dave. I was just curious kind of how different the approach is in terms of practicing. You guys have split groups, all of that stuff. And I guess kind of how does that impact how you evaluate, how you look at things, how you try to get guys ready, that sort of thing?
Well, the cool thing is that we're running the same script, so everybody's running the same plays. And with the limited number of guys that we had early in camp, it gives those guys a really good opportunity to get a bunch of reps. And then when we go back and watch the tape, we watch them back to back for both groups. So you can see the mistakes that some of the guys may have made on one play, and then the second group comes in and they may have made different mistakes or whatever. So you're really compounding the learning by being able to bring those guys along and give them a significant amount of reps. When you get out there and you have one group, it's a little bit tougher to get everybody reps. So it's worked out really well. Being able to get guys in and being able to see themselves on tape for the first time in a long time has been really helpful.
Next question for Rod McKenzie, 247 Sports.
Dave, you didn't have a chance naturally to finish spring practice, but the shortened number of practices, was that enough to give you an idea of where things in the quarterback room were headed?
No, not really. I mean, I think it gives you an idea what the young guys could do a little bit. And, until you really get those guys out there and throw live and put really all of them in live competition because they're so young. I mean, the group overall is extremely young still. So as many live reps as we could get, Rod, is what we really want to be able to do. I mean, today we had a really good run. We had a significant amount of reps in. Everybody got some ample throws in. So it's a combination of the live reps and their ability to see themselves on tape and, make the corrections and not make the same mistakes 2 days in a row and not make the same mistakes as somebody else made the day before. So there's no substitute like there is for live reps. We could talk about it all we want on the board or watch tape, but until you're out there and the defense is moving around and it gets a little chaotic, then you really have to let that thing rip. It was fun today. We got a bunch of reps in.
Another question from Kelly Quinlan.
Dave, I was just curious about the quarterback situation and kind of where things are at in terms of that competition and I guess kind of evaluating that as you have guys roll with different groups and that sort of thing. And what exactly are you looking for in the guy that you're going to trot out for the first play of your opening game?
That's a great question. I think everybody who's a Jacket fan is asking that question. Can you get us in the right play? Can you check us the right way? Are you athletic enough to run it in the run game? Do you know where you're going in the passing game? That's all critical before the ball's being snapped. Can you protect yourself? Can you change protections? So that's one piece of it. And then when the ball is snapped, can you make a great decision on where to go with the ball? Number one, do you throw on target, and do you throw on target with velocity? You know, those are the three things from just a throwing standpoint, you know, once the ball is snapped. So, you know, it's got to be a combination of all of those type of things, and the guys have done a really good job. I think I would assume that at some point, you know, we would talk about the whole, you know, what was the COVID piece like in the off season and that, you know, and as tough as it's been on us as a country and on our program, it's been very good for the young guys to be able to just sit back and learn football. And so we spent a lot of time over the course of the last 3 or 4 months really just talking about base concepts of football, which has really helped in their development, because you could see right now that all of the guys are going to the right spots most of the time, which was not the case last year. And their understanding of what we're doing is so much better. So you have to be able to frame that, put us in the best play, put us in the best position with checks, and then when you know the ball is snapped, you got to be able to rip the ball in there. Ultimately, you're still gaining your scholarship because you could throw the ball in a tight window with a guy in your face. So those are the evaluations that we'll continue to make.
Next up, Daniel Shirley from The Athletic.
Can you walk through maybe the strengths and weaknesses of each of those guys at quarterback as you kind of get into practices?
Sure. I mean, you know, the weaknesses for all of the guys is that they're all young. You know, and even James, who got, you know, the predominance of the snaps at the end of the year last year, he's a young guy. I mean, from a football standpoint, you know, he was a redshirt freshman last year who had never run that type of offense and, you know, had a huge learning curve and just happened to get thrown out there against really, really good ACC teams and had to figure it out on the fly. The cool thing for him is that he was able to do that, and so he's got game reps under his belt. He's extremely athletic. He's got a live arm, and he has a better understanding of what he's doing with the ball, which is critical for him. You know, the biggest thing that he has to be able to do is throw the ball consistently in the intermediate pass game. For us to be successful, that's a hallmark of what we do overall in our pass game. I thought he was really good throwing the deep ball last year and the short stuff, the check down stuff. The intermediate pass game is where he's got to, you know, do a better job with. Jordan Yates is, you know, he's very, very smart. He understands well. He's in the classroom very well. He's got a little savvy to him. You know, he can throw off platform. He is short. You know, so that is a little bit of a drawback when he's got 6'5", 6'6" linemen in front of him, and he's 5'10". He doesn't always see some of the things that some of the other guys can see, but he's able to kind of frame throws and throw around people and move his feet and scramble and find throwing lanes and, you know, throw it behind his back, throw it over his head. He does, you know, he had a jump pass yesterday, old school jump pass. So he's good at improvising. And he's very, very smart. You know, he'll get you into the right play. He understands what he's doing, you know, overall schematically. And I was talking to him earlier today, and, you know, his biggest thing was, you know, I thought I had a pretty good understanding of what we were doing offensively, but just my understanding of defenses, blitzes, fronts, and that type of thing, you know, what we're doing is so much better. You know, Tucker Gleason has a very strong high school background. He's got a very strong understanding of football. He was very well coached. He's a big, strong guy. He weighs, you know, 225 pounds. He's 6'3½". He's very athletic for a big guy. And he just has a really good feel for football. He's a very, very smart guy. You know, I think he's like a 3.8 in the classroom right now. So he understands concepts. He's very smart with where to go with the ball. Tinkering with a few things with his delivery right now to kind of, you know, drive the ball a little bit more instead of opening his hips up a little bit. But he's handled things very, very well. And Jeff Sims is a very, very good athlete. You know, everybody, you know, talks about Jeff because he was this star or that star and all that kind of stuff. He doesn't handle himself like that, you know, at all. He didn't come in here as a privileged kid at all. He's a worker. He's very smart. He understands football. I mean, for a kid that's that big, he really could spin the ball very well. We're working at a couple things with him technically too. but he's just got a little savvy to him, and he's extremely athletic for a guy who's as tall as he is. I didn't even think he was that good athletically when we recruited him, but he can, he could do all the things in a run game that we want him to at 6'4.5", 6'5". So we have guys that can really play, guys. I mean, this, it's a little bit different situation. In a perfect scenario, we would have a guy and he would get 75% of the reps, and we would be headed towards Tallahassee with one guy, but that's not the case. It'll be a continual work in progress. The plan is not to have to play 2, 3, or 4 guys. We'd love to be able to settle on one guy and have him have a tremendous year, but we're going to give all of those guys ample opportunity to figure it out.
Rod McKenzie.
Hey, Dave. You're in the second year nationally of running this offense. Do you feel this will allow you to open up the playbook a little more now that these guys have some experience with it?
I sure hope so. I thought we ran towards the end of the year. I thought you started to see, especially against Virginia and NC State, what a real look at what we're able to do is. We couldn't throw the ball down the field as much as we would have liked to have been able to do. With kind of the whole West Coast and run and shoot combination pass game that we have, that's been so successful for us in the past. But right now, in our install, Rob, we have a lot of offense in. We did not come in and just say, hey, we're only going to run these plays. We have probably 70% of our offense in here after, because we had the OTAs, we had a good run up to it. And so our guys are very, very strong mentally in understanding what we're doing. And then, we're just throwing it all in there, and we're giving them as much as they possibly can handle right now. They're handling it well. Sometimes you worry about your execution and that type of thing. We're not cutting guys loose. We're on the right guys. We're not pitching and catching every ball or things like that, but, we're not busting routes. We're not busting assignments. We're not busting protections. So that obviously gives you a sense of security to kind of open up the playbook. And, we got a lot of really good players on offense. So, you got to be able to find a way to use all of those weapons. And you can't just line up in a couple formations and just, pound the ball and throw it deep like we had to do last year. You know what I mean? We got to be able to be as multiple as we possibly can. And this offense is extremely multiple. And if we play at the tempo that we need to play at, I think that's going to be the thing that hopefully you see a little bit better, is that we're just moving a little quicker and moving a little sharper.
Kelly, last question.
Dave, you played with some 2-back sets. You talked about kind of being versatile there. You have a really interesting guy in Jahmyr Gibbs that can do a lot of different things on the field in terms of that, maybe a flex kind of guy that can go out in the slot or play running back. Do you kind of envision a little bit more of seeing that kind of thing and getting a guy like that into the game that's just a unique talent?
Absolutely. I guess the drawback for you guys right now is that you're not able to be here and see, some of these guys and their development and that type of thing. But that guy's a special player now. We're really talented. He brings a different dynamic to that set, like you said, because he's very dynamic out of the backfield, and he has great hands. He's not a really big guy, but he has a very wide catch radius. We ran him down the sideline on a route a couple days ago, and he jumped over a guy and spun and kept his foot in bounds. So he brings a lot of versatility. He can pound the ball inside, but he's very, very slick. He can run your speed sweeps. You could screen it to him. You could throw it to him out of the backfield. The thing that we have to be careful with the young guys, though, is that we don't overload him too much so that he slows down and has to think too much. Right now, we'll keep stoking his fire here over the next 4 or 5 weeks to get him ready for Florida State. But we are extremely lucky to have him here, and he's going to bring a real dynamic piece of the offense that we didn't necessarily have last year.
Okay, Coach Patenaude, thank you. Everybody on the call, thank you. We'll talk to everybody tomorrow.